How much does it cost to have and raise a kid? Let's talk about it. Having and raising a kid is a major financial decision. So how much does it cost to actually raise one? Let's see how much expanding your family may cost you. Number 1, the cost of raising a child through age 17 is $233,610 on average. If you are a parent with an organized spreadsheet of all your expenses, you may find out that your costs were significantly lower or significantly steeper. Now, you might be wondering, how much does it actually cost to raise a child then? The report estimates the expenses as they correlate to the number of primary caregivers. There is a different average for married couple families where there are 2 parents. There's a different calculation amount for single parent families, those with 1 primary caregiver. Naturally, the expenses of raising a child were higher for middle and higher income parents as they were able to spend more on non-essentials and education. There is one more thing that can be mentioned though. The latest data estimated only the expenses as they were in 2015. So we can expect that average to be raised in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Number 2, housing accounts for 29% of the total expenses on average. Housing is considered one of the biggest expenses of raising a child. It represents 26% of the cost for high-income families, 29% for middle-income families, and 33% for low-income families. Bear in mind that if you are already a homeowner with an extra bedroom, you probably won't see a drastic increase in expenses. Your utilities will be higher and you'll likely need to buy new furniture. You might also have to replace and repair things in your home more often. Parents who need to move into a bigger home see their housing expenses increase more significantly. Number 3, food accounts for 18% of the total child rearing expenses on average. Housing and food are some of the main expenses for all families, and while food is the second largest expense for low-income and middle-income families, it is the third largest for high-income families. As children age, food costs increase. Teenagers are the most expensive to feed, whereas the food costs associated with babies and toddlers are the lowest. However, parents that use formulas can expect higher food costs on average. Number 4, childcare and education account for 16% of all expenses. This category includes tuition fees, supplies, books, babysitting costs, etc. We already mentioned that for high-income families, the cost of childcare and education represents the second highest expense. This happens mostly because high-income families can afford to enroll their children in schools with more expensive tuition. What's interesting is that more than half of the families didn't report any expenses related to childcare and education. Merely 26% of lower-income married families have this expense. We can only assume that part of them can't afford to pay for childcare and some have a stay-at-home parent. Number 5, transportation represents 15% of all expenses on average. If you are looking at expenses as they correlate to the child's age, transportation costs the most for teenagers. After all, teenagers can get driver's licenses. This in turn means that some families buy a vehicle for their children and include them in their insurance. And speaking of insurance, the average car insurance cost is the highest for teenage drivers. Number 6, healthcare represents 9% of the total child rearing expenses. This category includes every out-of-pocket expense. These can be deductibles and premiums that aren't paid by the employer or another organization. So at what age do kids require the most money? We would have to say that taking care of teenagers is the most expensive in general. Number 7, low-income married couples spend $174,690 on average to raise a child. Families with a before-tax income that is less than $59,200 are considered low income. On average, they spend less than middle-income married couples whose average expenses amount for $233,610. Number 8, high-income married couples spend $372,210 on average to raise a child. Married couples whose before-tax income is higher than $107,400 spend $372,210 on average to raise their kids. So how much do rich people in America spend on their children? Well, Bill Gates' daughter is a talented equestrian and the proud owner of a $5 million condo. No wonder the average expense of high-income families are significantly higher. Number 9, low-income single parents spend $172,200 to raise a child from birth through age 17. Single-parent families with low incomes can't afford to spend much on items that aren't of primary necessity, so their expenses are generally lower. Number 10, high-income single parents spend $319,020 to raise a child on average. As was the case with high-income married couples, single parents with middle or high incomes have greater expenses. The average amount they spend also exceeds $300,000. High-income families spend almost double than low-income families, and when we compare the amount, it does put into perspective how bad US income inequality is. Number 11, 59% of millennial parents underestimate the cost of raising a child. According to a 2020 Better Money Habits Millennial report, more than half of millennials have underestimated the cost of raising kids, and 48% have stated that these expenses are making them feel restricted in what they can be doing financially. Number 12, finances were an important consideration when starting a family for 58% of millennials. Before most millennials decide to start a family, they ask one question: how much does it cost to raise a kid? In contrast, only 49% of Gen X and 46% of baby boomers consider their finances before starting a family. Number 13, 36% of millennial parents are stressed about saving for their children's education. The primary financial stressor for most millennial parents, 44%, is not saving enough. However, other financial stressors for millennial parents include whether they have saved enough for retirement and their child's education. Yet when asked what they would do if they suddenly received $10,000, 44% of them answered that they would pay off their debt. Only 8% would save it for their child's education. Number 14, 38% of millennial moms became stay-at-home parents due to high childcare costs. Due to the high average cost of childcare, 38% of millennial moms and 20% of millennial dads became stay-at-home parents. They all stated that they want to continue working, but it was more affordable to stay at home. Number 15, 47% of millennial moms can't afford to become stay-at-home parents. There are a lot of parents who prefer to take care of their children full-time. However, they can't afford to without the income they are bringing. This was the case for 47% of millennial moms and 33% of millennial dads. And number 16, the average age for first-time mothers is 26. First-time parents nowadays are older than they were in the 1970s. The average age to have a baby is 26 for first-time mothers and 31 for first-time fathers. In 1972, the average age was 21 for first-time mothers and 27 for first-time fathers. The main reason why people wait longer to have kids today is because most of them are waiting to get a college degree and get started in their careers. The average age to have kids for mothers with a college degree or higher education is 30. Women without a college degree are having their first baby at 23. The age of first-time mothers also varies by location. The average age for a woman in New York and San Francisco to give birth is 31 and 32 respectively. First-time mothers in South Dakota have an average age of 20. So how much does it cost to actually raise a child? Seeing how each case is individual, the best way to find out is by using a calculator that factors in your income and area of living. And another thing to note is that the amount estimated decreases after each child. So the first one is considered the most expensive, the second one not as much, and the third one is the least expensive. So what are your thoughts? Do you have enough money to raise a kid? If you like this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing. I talk about money and everything related to it, so don't miss out. And as always, take care of your money.